The years went by quickly, and I had experiences all the time with Rebisar, Ursha Lu, and with so many other real guides Rebisar introduced me to. During this time, Rebisar was teaching another fellow, Paul Twitchel. Paul had gone through a lot of different teachings and then to Rebisar. Paul was like me. He had been with Rebisar and the real guides in past lives. Paul and I would share stories about our adventures and how I was the half-breed Indian Goldie, and he was also a scout for the military, but he shared some of his stories in the books he had written, but that was many years after I first met him. Paul and I used to go and meet Rebisar in the Himalayan mountains where he had a hut and he would teach us. Ursha was sometimes coming to listen, but she liked to take me away with her and go to the many tropical islands we had fun on and surfed. She had known Rebisar for many lifetimes and was taught by him. So she had heard so much of what Rebisar was teaching Paul and I. In the other new books, I have written some of the adventures Ursha and I have had together in many different dimensions and levels. To most people, what I am sharing seems too far out. But for those who take the time to read my new books, they will begin a journey to real freedom like no other. Those who are overeducated will find it more difficult to see, understand, realize, recognize, and perceive the true reality life is, the all is. As I am updating this new book too, I am having Skype meetings with people in so many different countries with the new presentation and a worldwide wake-up for everyone. I do the Skype meetings every day with Eva Share Is, who stands with me in The New Wave Is, Duane, and Ava. We have reached millions of people all over the world with the All Solar Research Vessel Project. You can find us on Facebook, Ask Duane and Ava / Ask Ava Now. As I grew older, I became the teenager, and there were times when I forgot about the other world, because my earthly life was taking more of my attention as I was being educated. I was now the teenager, and I seemed to know everything, just like the rest of my friends. I finally figured out that Mom knew nothing, but that she was good to have around to take care of me. What an attitude parents have to deal with while supporting their children. As I look back, I am amazed at how many years I was in the dark about who I was on the physical level, on this physical level. Rebisar and Ursha were always the same in my dream experiences, and he said I would grow out of the silliness of my centralized ego someday, where most people never do. He never really said anything about how I was acting sometimes or how obnoxious I was at times. It wasn't that I was a bad person. I was just going through being a bit funny for a while. When you're being weird, you never really see it yourself. You always think everyone else is weird. Anyhow, so much for the description that so many of us have already experienced, especially if you have had your own little weirdos. At times, I had to force myself to keep my attention on my dreams because the outer was taking so much of my life. Being a teenager was not easy, but it does seem to be cool while you're acting out the part. Being the teeny bopper, I had to keep up the funny front that seems to be so important to us kids. Knowledge can be dangerous to teenagers because with it they think they can do anything. This is usually the reigning attitude of the modern generation, especially with what our controlled social order has become. Teenagers have their own dramas going on, mainly in their heads. Of course, not all people are the same. Some get to experience a good discipline that makes their life better. As I look back, I can see why Rebisar never really said anything about what I was going through. It was pretty boring stuff that meant a lot of nothing, but was probably pretty funny to him. It was as though I had to go through it and finally see it for what it really is, as a comparison to really appreciate what I already knew. It was also at a young age that I really got into the comic book fad. To me, it was much more than just reading comics. I knew what they were writing about was real, not on this level of life so much, but somewhere in life where we are all free to be real. For me, it was the reality of being with Rebisar and all that I could dream up. I had so many dream experiences. I was Superman or Green Lantern. My mom and I first came to California. When Mom and I first came to California, I started watching TV a lot. And my favorite TV show was Superman. All I thought about was Superman. I even taught myself to draw like the artist that made the comic books. Since then, I have become a very good artist and use my creativeness with others. As I am writing this, I recall a very interesting dream experience I had when I was a teenager where I was Superman. In the experience, I was trying to fly from the ground, and I would leap up into the air, but all these faceless people were grabbing my legs and holding me back. Not only was I Superman in the experience, but I could see myself from the viewpoint of my real awareness. In other words, I was watching myself being held back from the experience of flying above everything. It wasn't until years later that I realized what the experience meant. The faceless people represented my agreement to my social environment and conditioning that I had accepted, or what is known as the social consciousness. And Superman is the real awareness being held back by the limitations that have been agreed upon with the social order of things. As the know-it-all teenager, I had taken on more than I had realized. We can each have real experiences and also dream experiences that provide many lessons for us. All of us have so many different areas to our being, which is why those who do have a recollection of their real experiences are doing so many different things in them, and it is at first hard to recognize what is taking place in the other worlds. Most people feel they are just a limited human self and they must comply with what everyone has decided and continually follow along. I like the life of that Peter Pan decided, where he did not want to stay with Wendy and grow older. Sometimes we do grow older in the physical awareness, but if we grow older in our heart, then we become lost to the forces that exist in time and space. Then we are drugged around by the controlling deceptors that rule the three lower life levels and must recycle until we are guided out of these limited and sometimes dead zones. This is why I love the lifestyle of Rebisar, as he always lives without restrictions. His life is beyond any belief, and he is willing to teach others how to have the same opportunity. All of us have so many real experiences where we try to escape or rise above something to get a better view of what we are going through. When the average person doesn't know what their experiences mean, nor take the time to investigate, they are limiting themselves to their personal, physical, unconscious arena of understanding. Most of the dream interpretation on the market today is usually very limited, if not worthless. It really depends upon the awareness of the person doing the interpretation. There are so many rogues that market their divine documentation to the public. Just like the ancient systems that already exist, none of them imply real freedom, but they do imply a lot of rules and regulations, along with fear and guilt. Anyhow, anyone can do a little research on their own and eventually recognize real experience and find out for themselves, especially when they learn to contact Rebisar. Each of us can gain a real strength within ourselves, and it really doesn't matter how we do it. What I have learned is that if something helps you to get through all the silliness that the outer life seems to produce, then it serves as a benefit. We have the right to decide what our life is to be, no matter what we are told from others. As we grow older in the body, our considerations change, and there is more concern for the outer life and what it entails. Most people limit themselves to what others have decided. Those who do have the opportunity to explore and discover wonderful unseen realities beyond the standard choices usually have chosen not to. The reason is simple. Most people are satisfied with an agreed upon conformity without truly realizing what they have agreed to. To simplify this, it would be termed the unconscious agreement to return in a new body on earth and try to figure out again why you are really here. That's some of the Adventure Is series by Duane the Great Writer that's available at lulu.com. It's being offered for people who are ready to test for themselves the new you song, like for 15 minutes before they go to sleep each night, and 15 minutes when they wake up in the morning, and find out for yourself what life shows you. So I just wanted to share this new presentation, information, wonderful worldwide educators. If you're interested, check it out. It's all over on Facebook and YouTube. Kelsey Lynn Brown, Henry Draper, Eric Oak, Dean Val Vitals of Nations United Universal University. The new presentation has projects that are available to become involved with or create your own to have a real purpose in life. It's time for some to have this opportunity that's being offered to not have to keep reincarnating into these psych realms, this physical and then the astral and the causal, the mental and the etheric. So check it out for yourself. See ya. New